Good afternoon. Welcome to Prophecy for the Last Hour. My name is Liz McGee, and I am your hostess. I'm going to do another teaching today. Thank you for tuning in. If ever you hear this, just thank you. I always start out with this little tagline. I say, I'm going to serve up meat at the dinner hour. Well, I have two more phrases I'm going to use and unpack a little bit right now that mean the same thing. Because people, if you listen to my channel, I am all about decoding, getting the encryption, understanding out of the text, the keys to the kingdom. There's many ways, but someone had written a comment about my channel, or kind of my teaching sort of, and they said that, like me, that I was, and I've said this before, calling people unto the deep waters. It's like there are some, yes, deep waters that are in a little, you can get a little scary because you're over your head. So you have to learn how to like tread water, which to me is analogous. You have to really trust the Holy Spirit, trust the Ruach in us that leads us into all truth. But I'm understanding now the deep waters is true, but it really is what I'm trying to bring, which I'm going into, and if anybody wants to come along, I'm bringing people into the upper waters. If you've read especially any of the extra-biblical texts, you understand the lower waters and the upper waters is sort of a picture that's being painted, and it's like about what? But it is a picture of waters above and waters below. So I'm calling people into the upper waters, or the deep waters. So also, and I'll flesh it out a little bit more in a minute, but another one I could say is I am serving up wine, with a good meal, right? You have good meat, a good steak, and a good glass of wine, right? Isn't that the ultimate? It says that in the last days in Isaiah, there's a verse that he's going to create a banquet, this huge banquet on a mountain, and it's going to be full of choice pieces of meat and aged wine and all this different great delicacies and things. Well, I understand that is sort of him saying that's exactly what is going on today with the increase in knowledge, which is spiritual knowledge. Truly, that's what we're talking. That's what counts. With the internet, with all text, everything being available, it's like a banquet, and it's like come and feast. So, whether you want to eat the steak or hey, let's drink some of the wine. And it's just a mind picture. It is because wine is what I want to say. Wine is analogous because he says he's giving up, oil and wine are kind of always paired together. Come into a land full of, wine, oil, and milk and honey and all these different things. These are the good things. These are saying. So it's always talking first in the mind, intellectually, the purest theology of Yahweh. This is the truth. In other words, if you want truth, I'll serve it up to you in aged wine. What he means is, so wine, there's a phrase called the wine of the Torah. Wine represents the secrets of the Torah, the deep understanding of the Torah. The number with the word wine in the Hebrew is the number 70. Okay, because remember, in Hebrew, every letter is a number and the words combine in grammatica. I don't go there, but it's there. Our Yahweh is a very mathematical genius. But the number 70 is the grammatica for the word wine, but it's also the grammatica for the word sod, which is the Hebrew word for the word mystery. So it's all tying together. It's all confirming itself. This is another way that the word confirms itself. So the highest understanding, the secrets of Torah, the wine of Torah is a way of explaining, saying aged wine, because aged wine, people know, is the best wine. It gets better with age because it thickens, it deepens the juices. I don't understand. There's for some reason the fermentation, the way it happens, the older the wine, the better. Well, think about that in terms of your spiritual understanding. The older you get and the more mature you get, the more time you've had to chew these understandings, to kind of meditate on them, to kind of get out of it the deeper truths and meanings. Okay, so wine because wine comes from grapes. So this is another analogy they're carrying over here. Okay, so the wine is the juice of the grape. Now there's a whole concept, and I've unpacked this a couple of times, but this is, again, once you get a typology, it always fits. So the grape is the body, is the vessel, is the container, is the apparatus that, like the car, you got to get in the car to get where you're going, but the car is running on the gas. So it's the same thing. The grape and the juice, the wine, represents the grape is the vehicle, the container, when crushed, will give you the liquid, which is the wine, which is, it says that it's the vitality, it's the animation, it's the spiritual energy, it is the actual thoughts. So, I mean, these things all track. I think it's very beautiful. And it is mystical, only in the sense we're using human analogies, things that we can, to explain the upper waters, the higher thoughts. He says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. What do you mean? He says, I'm really not talking about wine and grapes. That's not what, but in that picture, because it's a symbol, these things are of 1,000 words. So in the picture of the wine and the grape, you can understand, you get this idea of the higher thoughts of Yahweh that we can have access to. Okay, now let me just say this, there's, on the flip side, one of the things, and this is when they do wine in a barrel, right, and the sediment, the dross, I don't know what it is, the heavier part that fall to the bottom. So when they pour out the wine, they pour the best wine, comes first right off the top, right? But they pour out the dredges, and that really represents the klippa, or the spiritual entities, the demons, the negative spiritual entities, which are part of the mix. They got mixed in with the thing. This is the thing that's going on. Viruses, but it doesn't get mixed in with the good wine because it will sink. It will go down. These are all analogies, and it just gets skimmed off. Or if you're boiling something and the scum in the foam comes to the top, and you can just just clear it up. When you make soup, chicken soup, you always skim off the surface to get rid of all that dross or that demonic understanding, because bad wine, right, would be analogous to, or if you said if you're drinking the dredges of the wine, when you're just getting secondhand demonic rehashes of what is the truth. So Yeshua saving, again, the best wine for last, representing us now in this generation. We're the best, and it's being the unsealing of true spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The upper waters is available to us today. Now, all that intro, I hope that. So yes, I am calling people to eat the meat, to drink the wine, to come swim in the deep waters, whatever. And we're really going up tonight. I think I'm going to blow some. It's the real uncharted territories, whatever. So anyways, people know I'm into the Zohar. I read the deep Hebraic Jewish literature, the true aged wine that has been preserved. I've been through all this. But one thing I do want to say, which, even if you never read the Zohar, okay, so, Yahweh is not without plans, because there's so much negative spin to Kabbalah and to the Zohar. I know people are never going to go there. So whatever, that's fine. But you know what? Yahweh is so smart. You're still going to get a lot of this understanding, because it has been preserved, because, again, Humpty Dumpty kind of fell down and was splintered into a million different places. These writings, these understandings are preserved in tons of writings. So if you are a student of extra biblical books, and like I said, Adam fell, so to speak, was cast out, had access to the upper waters. Okay, that's another way. And but he did retain a lot of knowledge and understanding, and of how it all operated, of what was, and he taught this to his son. So this understanding, okay, which has been preserved and kept, even though it's been a battle, lost, found, I've been through that. And the angels have, because what we're going to talk about angels today. Okay, let me get back to what I'm trying to say. This whole understanding, the righteous understanding, the truth of the upper waters, the deep waters, that is ours by inheritance, because this, Yahweh Elohim in his highest might be hidden from us per se. But what he gave to his children, which is us, which is Adam, which is our lineage, is ours and is our children's forever. So this knowledge is ours, and we don't have to apologize to anyone. I don't have to apologize to any evangelical fundamentals or anybody that this is not our inheritance. And I am calling people to reclaim, okay? And I want some elect, mature. Okay, so yes, you need to be mature. You need to be spiritually steeped in your scriptures. You need to live a Torah lifestyle. You need to, walk the walk, just not talk the talk. You need to be pure, holy, and blameless. All these, and to love your Yahweh, and his Mashiach, and our mother. Okay, I mean, these things are, so this is not for a neophyte. No, this is not for somebody who is just born again, maybe per se. Okay, but I think that that's a given. So what I want to just say is, so this understanding is tracking through Adam, Seth, Noah, Abraham, Enoch. This is our patriarchal. But as it comes down, if you understand, if you're starting to understand these storylines, as Abraham went to Egypt, he taught the Egyptians much of the higher level understanding that he had gotten, that he was getting, being taught by Yahweh. He taught the Egyptians. By the time you get to Moses, and Moses, who was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. See, what we need to understand something here. They always want to tell you that it's all occultic, dark, Cain, son of Enoch, son of Cain thing. Okay, no, our righteous knowledge is going through. There's two sets. I always said there's two sides to this esoteric thing. And our side, okay, we need to reclaim our heritage and understanding that our patriarchs had, and stop being afraid and letting the enemy control the dissemination flow, which is what is totally going on today. And he is hoping that everybody is stupid and asleep when the day which is approaching is here. But anyways, so anyway, I want to say, so Moses steeped in all the knowledge of the Egyptians, but much of this is retained as it comes on down through hints and symbols and allegory, and especially if you had the keys, and the priest had the keys, was written encoded into the Septuagint. It went into the Apocrypha, the Old Testament Apocrypha, which we're reading and understanding. Ben Sirach is a great apocryphal work. The Odes of Solomon, or Odes of Salome, this is a whole new work that's great, that I'm reading, that people really should read and study. Like the New Testament, like the book of Revelation, in the Targums, a lot of the Targums, they come right out and tell you what the hidden apocryphal understanding is. Works like the Assumption of Moses, the Ascension and the Vision of Isaiah, the Book of Jubilees, the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, the Book of Enoch, Secrets of Enoch, Second Enoch, Baruch. One of my favorites is for Esdras, or depending, to Ezra, same book. The works of Philo, the works of Josephus. Okay, so if you've read any of that stuff, you are getting a lot of the knowledge that is in the Zohar. So, busted. Okay, so whether you read it in the Zohar, you read it in the, what we need to understand is to get the essence of the correct theology, the understanding, the one. So we're all drinking out of the same bottle. So anyways, but in the New Testament, it goes into, again, Yeshua taught, he says it. He said, but to you, my disciples, I am giving the hidden wisdom. Okay, it's not new wisdom. It's not like, it's a stream. And he's re-educating, you know, his disciples again, bringing them fully up to speed, as initiated as he is. Then you've got people like Barnabas. Great works. The epistle, I think it's the Epistle of Barnabas, is a very great work coming right out of now Yeshua's and the new and a stream of even more understanding. The works of Paul. I say Paul is a great Kabbalist. Believe me, I'm going to start doing teachings on that, okay? To show that Clement, the shepherd of Hermes, this book, Justin Martyr, and this one who I have just sort of read this week, a book called On the Celestial Hierarchies, a book by Dionysius the Areopagite. I have no idea if I said that right, whatever. He was a disciple and a contemporary of Paul. He's a historical figure. You can Google this and find out. He when Paul was preaching in Athens, he was an Athenian. He heard Paul. He became very saved. He became a disciple of Paul to the point, it says that this was a little bit later, like he kind of, I wouldn't say he ditched his wife and children, but he left them and started going on missionary journeys, and I'm sure it was a copacetic relationship. Paul would not let somebody go with him who did not have permission. This was of his family, that they were allowed to leave them for periods of time. So he was a disciple of Paul, and he was a contemporary, a fellow deacon of Barnabas. So they had a little group, so they know. So I've been reading his work. Some really interesting things. And then tracking down more, like Jerome, you know, but I'd say by the time of the 3rd century, I mean, it really did, it was getting lost, and it was getting skewered, and it was getting, would never read, maybe I'll someday get there after the early church fathers. I just don't go there. But, right, so I want to say that this stream, you probably, if you're listening to my channel, you probably read some of these words. You are reading Zoharic writings, whether you know it or not. So whatever. But the last 2 YouTubes I did, what I was starting to unpack again, because I am really going over all of my notes. I've had to write a book on the keys, and trying to, you know, kind of bring together, it's going to be very hard for me, all of my millions of lateral, all the holes I've dug all over the place. But I was unpacking, see, you guys just have to, okay, according to Hebrew Exegy, there are many levels to understanding, yes. And I'm totally about the sod level. I told you that. Okay, so I'm not going to teach you Bible history or, you know, names and places or, you know, things. I expect most people to understand. I already have that understanding, so you can just move right on. So now, when I say this, another person said this, I like this, I'll use the analogy of the information we live in now. This was all classified. You know, works that they say were, you know, if you were initiated, means you were just getting the, like the I call it the high school or the college level, PhD level, finally, you know, onto a master's level understanding of this. Someone else said it's like you're beginning to get the classified information. Okay, this has all been classified. But in our age, where we are today, it is prophesied. See, we live in a time of prophecy being fulfilled. And this is all the hidden wisdom and the revelation of the mysteries. This is all supposed to come out. In Romans 16, Paul talks about the hidden wisdom. He's not making this the same stream. We're talking the same thing. That the revelations of this mystery is really coming out. Nothing secret. In Luke 8:17, it talks about nothing secret that will not be revealed. Talking the same thing. It talks about that are hidden. All the treasures of wisdom and knowledge is talking the same thing. And the wisdom and knowledge, the mystery of Christ, these are all saying the same thing. Okay, and in one admonition, it says in one of these, to be careful how you hear. See, this is one of the things you need to, by faith, we unlock everything by faith. If you don't believe, aren't at peace in your heart, that there is a stream of classified information that Yahweh, he told Daniel. Daniel was a fully initiated, it's not one way to say it. He had all the classified information. And really what it is what I'm going to get, what's going on behind the veil. It's all being declassified for us today. This is what is going on. We're all being debriefed by the Ruach because we're coming into the appointed time, the last hour, where literally we're going to judge angels. I mean, come on, people. We're coming into the final stages, the end of this age. There's a transition going on, and we are going to work with Yahweh to rid the world of the wicked and to bring in the righteous kingdom. So yeah, it would make sense that we would finally graduate from the academy, so to speak, so we could be useful in his, you don't send your kids out to fight your battles. Let's hope not. Okay, so to be careful how you hear, you need to have faith. You need to believe. If you don't, you really need to not. Maybe you have a different gift mix. I'm really serious, because the enemy, it's so subtle, it's so slick. He'll get you diverted or off or something. It's just not. See, we all have a gift mix. Some people call it to feed the poor. Some people call for leadership or whatever it is, shepherding, whatever. Do what you're called to do with all the grace and faith of Yahweh, and do it well, and make the rest of us look good, and do it so that the rest of us, when we need that gift mix, can come and get it. If you want to the deeper, you want to swim in the deeper waters, okay, then maybe. But anyways, so that being said, what I was starting to flush out, okay, we just went through September 23rd, and that was really pretty hairy a little bit, but it's because we don't understand what we're dealing with. There's too much of the church, especially the Gentile church, that refuses to understand the Hebraic roots that we have, to understand the Jews have been keeping this in the house, and to get it on their terms. So in other words, we cannot make up. Every single encrypted, encoded understanding, every spiritual truth has already been firmly established. Okay? I guess there might be new revelations or new, it's like a cut crystal, like a diamond, you can and get a new understanding. That's not what I'm talking about. But so I was talking about last week in September 23rd, the beast, the dragon, and the sign in the heavens, which is of the woman clothed in the beast, the dragon being there to swallow the child and all this kind of stuff. Well, this is heavy duty principalities. These are powers. This has nothing to do with the boots on the ground, and as people keep trying to think and plug, it's a circus. The pinnacle, because you have to get this whole, I say this, and I say it unapologetically, so whatever. The Hebrews have a whole philosophy, worldview, theosophy, because that is the theology of Yahweh and his creation that we need to get, and we cannot have to stop making it up. There are two people, one of the things that will trip people up, like if you don't understand this, that there's two creation stories in Genesis, and like, oh look, there's two creations, and they contradict each other, and so the Bible's not accurate. Or you get the people saying, oh, well, it's two different streams, and you got the Elohist over here, and the Yahweh is over here, bringing it to, no, but just making it, no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry, in my opinion. Okay, you're talking about a creation, and you're talking about the final pinnacle. Like, okay, let's just say I was giving this analogy to somebody today. Let's say I want to build a house, right? Well, I have no skill for that, so I'm going to have to go get an architect. And I'm going to hope that this architect has studied every single branch of science and knowledge in order to build me my dream castle. So in other words, they know all the math, they understand all masonry and all the different kind of materials that can be used. They understand the interaction between my windows and all. I mean, and they understand, the laws of physics, and so how to build it so my roof doesn't cave in. I mean, in other words, they have a 100% thorough understanding of all of the disciplines that are going to be necessary to build me my dream castle, right? But then when they build me my dream castle, that's the whole point, okay? So in other words, I have this great idea in my mind of this, this is where he's making many mansions, many places. I have this in my mind, this beautiful place that I want to, but it's going to be made up of all sorts of things. And it's going to take all sorts of skill to execute it, to actually get it to manifest in a material plane where I can walk in the door and boom, there it is. Okay, this is the idea of what Yahweh has done. The first creation you're talking about, he had to make everything that was necessary, that was part of the process and the materials that were going to go into his pinnacle of creation. Okay, so the first part, creation, he's telling you, whether you want to know all the sciences, the energy, the physics of this, everything that is in creation, that the biological, the electrical, the chemical, the wavelengths, the light, the energy, and everything that is out there that is used to come down to make the pinnacle of point of all creation, which is this Adamic man. And the last thing is you get the Adamic man, who is finally made. Okay, so you're not really, I don't know, that's what's going on. You got a macrocosm and a microcosm. Because people, this is what I said before, we are about as connected to the world. Now, the Western mind, we've totally divorced ourselves from this, but this is what the ancients knew and understood. This way, we are about as intimately connected, the way we're wired, biologically, electrically, chemically, materially, to everything that's out there. So it's a no-brainer, the connection between the two. But anyways, enough of that. Oh my gosh, sorry. When you get into this whole idea of the beast in Revelations, this is the ancient dragon. This is the serpent. This is Hasatan. This is the beast. He is the same. He's a principality. He is, all right, and he is married to, and I said this before, he has a cohort, so to speak. And this is, again, it's the male and female principle that God has instituted. There is always an animation, and there is always something you put into it. It's this whole process of coming in. You have to have an idea, I don't know how, sometimes it's hard to explain, but you always have, like I have a soul in a body, okay? So you have a serpent, a dragon, a principality that has an energy, has an energy, and it's a negative spiritual energy, which is called Lilith. Now, yes, you can anthropomorphize this to she is the whore that is riding the beast, okay? This is what and she has 7, and there's 7 heads. This goes back to, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I have started to touch on all this in my last 2 videos. But the serpent, the dragon, and then you have Lilith, which is the cosmic energy force. She is full of, and she is the spiritual wickedness. Now, Paul said, this is what we war against principalities, powers, and spiritual wickedness in high places. What he is talking about are these cosmic, intelligent, energetic forces that can take on a fleshly form. Oh, believe me, they are ultimate shapeshifters. They are way more evolved, so to speak, than we are down here in our fallen state, bound by death. But this is what we're talking about. And yes, they have 7 heads, and there are in the dragon, and I want to show this to you. That's right, 7 heads, okay? And it sits on 7 hills. Now, these are kind of code words. These are sort of understandings where everything that Yahweh does, or everything that is established in the pure heavens, in the goodness and holiness of Yah, right? Hasatan mimics, imitates. There is a shadow. Okay, so this dragon, with 7 heads, is completely mimicking the Son of God, the Son of Yahweh, and the 7 spirits of Yahweh. See, the spirit, again, we understand spirit isn't energetic, isn't ethereal. It's not, okay? So in other words, you have Yeshua with his 7 spirits, but you've got over here the dragon with his 7 heads, paralleling this concept of a high, one is, and this is where they can, one is an archon, Hasatan, and an aeon. Okay, this is another way they would have phrased in battle. The Yeshua and the 7 spirits of Yahweh in battle against Hasatan, the serpent dragon, and his 7 heads on 7 hills. Hills represent females. Mountains are men. Hills are, believe it or not, hills are women. This is encoding you in that there is the female principal, Lilith, and all of her little demons. Okay, so this is how these are ways of contrasting and talking about. I mean, I didn't make this up. Okay, I didn't write these things. This is what they're doing. They're contrasting. You have to have the key. You have to understand how they're using these words. So we have this, and another way, okay, the house, the horse, and the rider. This is another totally way of explaining this principle. The horse, the rider, it refers to the king, okay, or the chief. Yeshua is our king, right? He's the king of kings, all right? There's really no contest, but Hasatan is Yahweh's, it's Yahweh Satan, okay, but whatever. And the armies, those that are under him, okay? So the horse represents the armies. This was a way, and it's actually used in a lot of secular literature in the ancients, but the horse, like a king on his horse, the great has a great armies. So the horse represents the armies. It's like the horse is the muscle of the operation, right? The big powerful horse. It's the muscles behind the thing, but it's ridden by a much higher ordered being. There's the brains of the operation. So you have the king who sits on the horse. So you have a king with his armies, a horse with his rider. I hope that's sort of making a little bit of sense. But in the demonic side, these things it's really negative spiritual energy. It's the dross, it's the scum. It's like I was talking about in the wine. It falls to the bottom. It's heavier, it's denser, it's darker matter, and it will be. This is what he's really basically just gonna burn up. So, and again, when you get into this and you're understanding, again, this is why I do think that it's important for those in the elect that are called into the grove, understand the Zohar, the Sephiroth, the tree of life, what those symbols are representing, because there is a geography and there is a symbol. There's tremendous information that is being imparted in this. It is not occultic or satanic, even though there is a mimicked, occultic that Hasatan has taken and made a shadow, but we're reclaiming the truth. And I've showed this before. The 7 spirits of Yah are in your text. I mean, you go read Isaiah. The spirit, of wisdom, and I did the 7 spirits of Yah. I can't off the top of my head list them all right now. But this is the point of the battle that we're in these principalities, these powers, these spiritual wickedness. Now, in one of the odes, which I just came across, which is really interesting, the Odes of Solomon. Now, see, there again, I don't believe that Solomon wrote them. That's sort of giving it a pseudographic. Someone I respect, Dr. Jackson Snyder, has done a rendition, and I've written, and you can listen to it verbally, on the Odes of Solomon. Plus, I will tell you, Robert Farrell has, from Apocryphal 1971, I think it is, YouTube channel, has just uploaded the whole Odes of Solomon, or Odes of Salome. Salome is one of the sister of Yeshua, one of in the family, the sister. They're beautiful, and they are highly apocryphal, and they are so loaded with upper water understanding. So now I read them and I'm like, I get it, I see it. But there was this in Ode 22, and it's called the hand, because see, in the geography, when you understand the Sephiroth, you understand the upper waters, Chokmah, Bina, and Ketur, and then the 7 spirits of Yah, the sort of the body of the thing, the brains of the operation, sort of. That's why it's called the hand. Yeshua. Let me go. In Ode 22, there was this very interesting phrase, and it's talking about Yeshua. It says he, the Father, who gave me, let's just call it Yeshua, the Son of God, authority over bonds or bondage, right? That I might loose them. We do know this, that he loosens our bonds. This is one of the things it says in our testament. Okay, he that overthrew by my hands. So if you understand the Adam caveman, and you can place this thing, he, the Father, who is above, right? Using the hands, but not literally hands, but using in a sense, if you understand how much our hands make, I mean, we do everything with our hands. Hands are the most creative parts of the universe, the human hand. I mean, okay, that's what separates us, they say, from the whole animal kingdom. Anyways, so he, the Father that overthrew by my hands, Yeshua say, the dragon with 7 heads. Now, you can't tell me these people don't have this understanding, okay? It says that, or in another phrase, it says the 7-headed dragon, okay? So this is the point. Okay. And thou hast set me, Yeshua, let's just say, over his roots. Whose roots? The root system, that I might destroy his seed. Remember, he's the axe and he's cutting it down at the roots. These insidious seed lines, the seed of the serpent, this is what it's talking about. So don't tell me these people don't have this deep apocryphal understanding that we're beginning to get. Here it is in the Ode 22, Ode to Solomon. He who gave me authority over bondages. See, and this is what Hassan has authority. He's like the policeman. If you sin, you can get put in jail. You have these jailers over you, these left-hand angels, of fiery angels. These are the of judgment, of chastening, they've come against Israel many times. They're rampant in our nation. This is what, okay, I'll get there. So let me start again. He who gave me authority over bondage, that I might loose them, that he that overthrew by my hands the dragon with 7 heads, and thou hast set me over his roots, that I might destroy his seed. I mean, how much clearer could it be in an apocryphal understanding of what we're doing, what Yeshua did, what he is doing? And so you understand, like the story of Bel and the dragon, this concept of, what's the medieval, is it Saint, somebody in the dragon, Saint Michael? And even Michael slaying the dragon, Saint Michael. These are all, again, this is an archetypal literature stream that is out there that now we can begin to understand and flow with it. Okay? So I wanted to move on from that, because understanding in the understanding the left hand, the right hand, and Yeshua, the middle pillar. Okay, and I bet it's the pillars. This is a big word, but it's not, we're not talking about concrete pillars that somehow are poured up there and supporting it, the earth. I mean, this is, when you get, let me say this, when you get into the ethereal, angelic, well, okay, the non-matter realms, okay, you really are talking, and this, I went into this a little bit with quantum physics, but forces and matter. This is how they finally, again, have come back full circle. They're giving you modern scientists are giving you a very Kabbalistic understanding, Zoharic understanding, because this is what they're finally figuring out is really what's going on, which is what our ancients, whoa, be surprised, knew. Why wouldn't Adam know this? He came from the upper waters. He understood the invisible world. Okay, so anyways, but in this concept of how the world that's being painted, or the concept, the theology that's being painted by these apocryphal understandings, you do have to understand one thing that's really, and I've started to touch on this in some videos, the 4 worlds. Okay. But anyways, this is really important, because where Hasatan is, where this serpent beast is, I've said this before, he's operating in the astral world, the psychic world, the soulish world, the world of air, in the ancient world called air and fire. I mean, these are what, but it is according to this. Okay, so there's 4 levels to the human, even human psyche, or there's 4 levels in this whole paradigm that we're in. There's the highest level of essence, of spirit, of Ensof, of the emanations of the Godhead, of the Godhead, all right, which is pure essence, pure spirit. That's what basically our text is telling us. But coming down from it, you get into a realm called the intellect, what they call the world of the mind, the archetype, the reason, the aeon, the intellectual, the world of the mind. So this is, a lot of times in the odes, it'll talk about he has plated a crown on my head, meaning our thoughts. This is what he's talking about here. Our thoughts. We finally are in the upper waters. Our intellect, our mind, our reasoning, our understanding, our wisdom, our knowledge, our worldview, our perception is truly up there in the mind of Yahweh, in the mind of Yahushua, in the mind of Christ, where Chokmah and Bina, where wisdom, true true spiritual wisdom, understand, reign and rule. When he has plated a garland, I think we're talking about plating a crown upon my head, meaning our thoughts, because the garland, it's our thoughts are finally free from the carnality of this life, where, the pride of life, the lust of the flesh, he who has and doesn't have these things consume us. When you're finally free of all that, and you get into your mind freed up to really think on true spiritual matters, okay? Then you come down into the what's called the psychial, or the psychic, the word psych. We get the word psychology because it deals with our soul, the place of emotion, of our thought, of, it's a place, it's a wonderful place. I mean, seriously, music and art and our expression, our love really comes from this place, because there's a sense, this is the heart. Okay, so the first place was your head, the head and the heart. Your love comes, you look at the creation and you're filled with an inexpressible joy and longing and desire to be with the creator of it. You have it. So it's all these good feelings, it's the good feeling. But on the flip side, these things can get totally perverted, corrupted, carnalized, and possessed by all of these, the principalities and the powers and the spiritual wickedness of the demonic realm of the beast. This is where he, and then he was cast down, because he had to leave the upper waters, cast down, and he is cast down to the earth. He has seed. He has literally growing roots on the ground. That's why he said he has to destroy it. The roots grow in the ground. They grow down. Okay, we're talking about trees. Tree like down at the bottom where our feet are. That's where the roots are. That's why he's got to cut those things down, pull them out. This is the concept of the tares. He's got to pull those things up by the roots so they just cannot grow up anymore. So that is all. And I want to make two more quick points. This is where it's so interesting when you begin to understand how all these things are using. Because I can come out and say, no. Okay, there's some very enigmatic verses in First Enoch, and it talks about the 70 shepherds that were put over the nations. And they've been arguing for, hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, because who are these 70 shepherds that rule the nations? Well, okay, so the 70 shepherds, seriously, we are talking about, and this is where we start, we need to grow up. We need to begin to get back to an understanding that Yeshua had, that our ancient patriarchs had, and that the early church had, of the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual realm. We need to stop being afraid and begin to wrap our mind around this. So 70 watcher angels, these are when Israel went into the nations, and I'm not going to pack this down, but this is where Yeshua put, the Father, angels, entities, spiritual entity angels over the 70 nations, okay? And the 70 nations is it's sort of a breakdown. There's a lot of symbolism in that, because a lot of symbolism in 70, okay? These are over the nations. These became the idols. These became the problem. These relate to the sun, moon, and the stars. This is really where the whole world of paganism, of adultery, of the Nephilim, the giants, the whole mess of before the flood, and Nimrod and Babylon, this mixing, this leaving of the first estate, this corruption of the 70 watcher angels with the nations, this has been the problem. This is what everybody's trying to this is what they're unpacking, okay? Versus Okay. It talks about how this stream, the upper water, the righteous stream of upper waters, you know, and it gets into the four rivers. It's the headwaters. This is the place of the headwaters. It means the beginning of a flow, the beginning of an emanation. Okay, it's usually up in a high mountain. See, all these analogies track the very source, okay, of our righteous understandings, which coming from the mind of Yahweh, okay, coming down at the point of when the 70 watcher angels are put over the nations. Also, you have going on this concept of the 70 elders with Moshe retaining the apocryphal understanding. So it is, so again, it's a shadow picture. Again, you have 70 elders under Moses. You have 70 watcher angels. What I think we need to understand is how closely aligned all of our kingdoms are and the interfacing that's going on with these kingdoms. So what I want to end with, when I was reading, okay, I read this book called by Dionysius the Areopagite, who was a disciple of Paul and a contemporary of Barnabas, and it's all documented and stuff. And he was known as one of the first early Christian church mystics, okay, because he wrote a lot about the heavenly hierarchies and the kingdoms. And this is my thing where I guess where I am now, what I'm really beginning to prepare, what are angels? What are we dealing with? When you begin to understand, and you begin to understand souls, and not all souls are the same. I mean, Moshe's, you know, Yeshua's soul, this is why, where did it originate from? I mean, there's some really deep stuff. I don't want to go into this. They talk about this stuff. They have an understanding. There is a deep understanding. See, you don't have to think that everything is negative and is a cult and is controlled by Satan. That's just pure fear. We have the armies of Yahweh. I mean, Elijah, remember the story where they're surrounding his physical house and they're trying to intimidate him, and he comes out and he says, you know, look, if you guys could see what I see the armies of Yahweh, which is a word for angelic host, on all the mountain ridges. I'm not at all concerned. Yeshua said, I could call down legions of angels at any time I needed to. I am not at all concerned. David looked at the Philistine giant. He said, I'm not afraid of you. Who are you, you uncircumcised Philistine, to come against the armies of the living Yahweh? The guy obviously felt that he was completely protected by the armies, the hosts of heaven. Okay, this is the mindset, elect saint, you need to have as we are going into this time of great quote-unquote tribulation. The 144,000 are going to be the mature crack troops, and I do hope we get change, who are going to be able to deal with this onslaught of archons that is going to be in our face soon. All right, so we need, I mean, Peter, oh, okay, so let me make two more comments. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm ready, I'm going there, okay? I'm going there fully shielded, protected by the blood of Yahweh. I am going there with the Ruach to lead me into truth and to groom me and get me ready to do exploits. Now that's what the Bible's talking about, okay? So what can I say? Okay, the Essenes, let me say this. This is the Essenes, and when I was reading about Dionysius, this guy, there was a story in there, that he was martyred. They chopped his head off, the pagans, okay? For preaching Yeshua, okay? There's huge spiritual battles going on. Yes, there will be martyrs. I mean, it's not a guarantee that, you know, everybody's got to die once, or you get changed. So what I'm hoping is 104, like we get changed before, whatever. They said that he was communing the night before. They knew they were going to get beheaded or crucified. They knew that it was coming. And he, with his other presbyters, missionaries, saints, whatever, they celebrated. They spent all night singing psalms and, you know, communing with the Lord and with the angels. See, this knowledge, this understanding, we have to understand it's not witchcraft, it's not Wicca. We have to understand that we are part of an army we can plug into. Not that we, and see, we can use the name of Yahweh, of Yeshua, who is above all the angelic hosts, always above all the angelic hosts, came and got us and brought us into an elevated position now. See, that's why it's a level playing field. Because Yahweh has all these saints who were in a position higher than these archons. We can use the name of Yeshua over these things, okay? So the point is, what I'm saying is, here he is, it's understanding that he is communing with the angels. All the Essene literature. See, this is the point, people. Stop. I am in a trying to fight a very demonic stream that's trying to come in and muddy the waters, that the Essenes and their understanding of the secrets makes them worshipers of angels. No, you are wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? We live in a very populated place, but these are not, we're not dealing with other peoples that have been. We are dealing with intelligent, cosmic, ethereal, forces. So we have, and this is where understanding the power of the mind, the higher upper waters, okay, where the authority over this rest. This is what we need. But let me get back to my list. So what I wanted to do is end on two things. There have been many times in early church history, see, it's not the worshiping of angels. See, yes, there is a perversion. There are always going to be sects, S-E-C-T-S, or pockets of those that will profane, that this information is going to go right over their head. They're going to carnalize it, they're going to profane it, they're going to pollute it, they're going to pervert it, or they're going to occult it and use it. Because that's what, again, the other side, this is what the Luciferians totally understand, and this is why we need to be wise as a serpent. We need to get ahead of the game here, people. So I have 3 lists here, and this is all in your Bible. It's all in your Bible. I'm not making any of this stuff up. If our early fathers, church fathers, the apostles, Yeshua, if Elijah, if ours can handle this information, I don't know why we can't, okay? I mean, I don't understand, okay? So, but let's see. Dionysus, this was his list, and it lists into 9 to 10 always. Because remember, in the 70s, when you're talking the spiritual realms, it's 10, not 9. It's 10, not 11. Okay? But then it gets really, but a lot of times the listings are 9 and triads of 3s and 3s, because ultimately you have Yahweh, who is above all of his hosts. Okay? So, let me just give you these. So you have the seraphim, the cherubim, and the thrones. Okay? The upper water. So I'm going to give you 3 lists. You can learn on Google. They're authentic. They're in our tradition. Do what you want. You have Gregory the Great, St. Gregory the Great, and you have the apostolic constitutions. Both are categorizing and understanding these cosmic, angelic armies. And there's so many ways, but so you have the seraphim, the cherubim, and the thrones. Under Gregory the Great, you've got understanding, ascensions, and lights. Under the apostolic constitutions, you have the seraphim, the cherubim, and the aeon. The highest triadic essences of spiritual energies, angelic forces, whatever, okay? Then you come down into the mid-level, and again, it follows the same principle. 3, like a mind, a soul, and a body. You come down to the next group, which is under Dionysus, is the authorities, the lordships, the powers. You come down to Gregory, he's got them as dominions, principalities, and powers. You go over to apostolic constitutions, they're called the hosts of powers, the authorities, the principalities. This is one of the things with so many people writing in so many different languages over so many different, again, but if we can identify the theological construct, come up with basically an agreement what we're talking about, but here in this third level, you do have your principalities, your powers, and your authorities. This is what he calls it. This is the psychic level. This is the third heaven. This is in the middle. This is where, you know, the kingdom of Hasatan kicked out of heaven. This is where they are ruling from, okay? And these are, you know, I was talking to someone who, and we can't, this is an invisible realm. So let's just grab, how do you fight invisible foes? You in the mind. She was researching something and she was beginning to get a weird feeling. She was beginning to get like, just, this is the beginning of discernment, like a check in her spirit, like, what am I seeing? What is it? And she was feeling a tension. And we talked about this is, Satan has said, this is what happens if you don't, you need to be prayed up, the blood of Yeshua, you need to be called into this. You need to, that a negative energy, this is for the mature. I mean, this is what the beauty of it was we could identify, there is a spiritual energy that will try to take you and your thoughts and these truths and make it crooked. See, that's why it's got to be straight up and down. Boom, boom, boom. If it gets crooked, if it gets off, and this gets a falsehood, and then it gets demonically charged. I mean, I don't have a problem, you know, kind of beginning. I'm probably in kindergarten, all this, whatever. Just one sec. Just a moment, please. Then in the lower level, I just want to say that there is some of the list go into principalities, archangels, and angels. Under Dionysus, Gregory the Great has virtues, archangels, and angels. Thrones has, or the apostolic constitutions, thrones, archangels, and angels. So this is a very established body of understanding that is in the Old and New Testament. Let me give you some New Testament verses where this is again being talked about. This is that Paul, that Peter, Yeshua had understandings. So let me check Colossians 1:16. This is the great verse. This is just one of the beautiful collection of verses about Yeshua, and it says he is above everything visible and invisible. Again, this is the world is divided, visible and invisible. Thrones, powers, rulers, and authorities. See, it's referencing again these understanding, these different orders of angels, orders of heavenly hierarchies that we're dealing with. You come into Ephesians 1:27, and it says that Yeshua, he is far above. He has the name above every name. Praise Yahweh, right? He is far above all rulers, authority, powers, and dominions, and every name or title that can be given. That's talking the same thing. And again here in 1 Peter 3:22, talks about Yeshua, who is gone into heaven, and again is seated at the right hand of the throne of God, above angel authorities, and all powers are in submission. So I guess what I'm saying is, and I'm exploring, I am not invoking, I am getting myself educated to the demonic realms and the angelic realms, what this is talking about, who as a believer in the blood of Yeshua and with a crown of righteousness on my head, what we're dealing with. Because this is the whole point of the end times, and this is what people, the demonic realm is kind of come out as front and center. We better understand what's in our soul and who we're dealing with. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a very apocryphal and polemic text called the War Scroll. And it says that in the last, that finally, that the camp of the angels and the camp of the men, so to speak, will be together. And they will be fighting the battle together. And on that note, I just say, yes, let's do this thing. Praise Yahweh. Shabbat Shalom. Blessings to you. And I hope you enjoy this.